today's view. Aha. Here's the logos. Okay.
Nearly there. Oh, yeah, we'll do a little magic trick here. I'm sure there's got to be an easier way. One day I'll take the time to figure it out. Won't be today, though, I can tell you. Oh, I reckon we're just about there, good sir. I think it's fair to say we're almost there.
Good job.
What is an innocent bystander, loud and clear over. That's all happening.
Hey, what? We've got fan mail already.
Yeah.
From?
Innocent bystanders, loud and clear, can hear us talking, getting ready to rock and roll, and it's now officially 7:30.
All right, well,
So,
let's do it.
we
Innocent
can-
bystander, welcome. My name's Anthony Irvine. I'm a councillor on Temora Shire Council, but none of the views I express here are those of Temora Shire Council. They're mine and mine alone.
I'm Dean McRae, and my views have always been my own, even when I was actually affiliated but with a political party. I still say exactly what I thought when I thought how I thought it, and I am here of my own free will, heaven forbid.
No arm twisting.
No arm twisting, no guns to my head.
at
You
the
know,
moment.
look, a few people have tried over the years. I don't perform well under that type of pressure.
No, but it's coming.
Oh, it's coming. Venezuela, 5 years, mate.
Yeah, look,
That's if we last that long.
I don't.
If we can get
No.
5 years out of this, I think we'll be doing very, very well. But anyway,
There's
what do I know?
really, really worrying signs with a Marxist, communist, Labor, socialist.
No different to communist, Marxist, liberal, nationals.
No,
That's where we're at, sadly.
you're exactly right. And I don't think anything's occurring at local government level that's going to help us. If anything, the local council appears to be very much of the mind of big government, interventions, interference, overbearing control, and that's supported by the higher tiers of government. And that just seems to be the theme.
That's the theme until we all run out of other people's money. And that is coming. It's coming like a freight train.
Look,
Venezuela, baby, Venezuela.
No,
they can't get out of it. There is no escaping. The train's already there. Big government, baby, all the way until there's nothing left.
The story is that Victoria's debt will balloon out to about $200 billion.
Failed state, they're bankrupt, they're done. Victoria's just going to be the first one to land in the shitstorm.
$200 billion.
Yeah, and they're voting for it gleefully because they're so stupid.
I
can't help.
No, they're voting for it because the majority of them are probably either working for the government or receiving government contracts or
all government benefits.
Yes.
So all the middle class welfare that's destroying this country.
Well, it's just the whole system really of reliance on that and the power that has been given to these bodies is being used against the people. People haven't realised just how much power and money now resides with these government jobs and contracts, and there's very few businesses in Australia that aren't affected by government money.
Absolutely. Well, they're affected if they're just existing in business. You're affected by government money.
Yes, but to the point that if the government money was withdrawn, a lot of these businesses would fail.
Absolutely, they would. And look, let's be fair. If government money was withdrawn, Canberra would look like Barmedman in 5 years.
If government money was withdrawn, Canberra would be...
Not the Barmedman's, not a lovely little spot.
No,
I regularly go to their pool. I like it. But
Canberra would be a sheep farm, a merino sheep farm again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Take out all this bloody bullshit government money and we'd be riding high.
Yeah, so no, it's pretty sad. And look, I've got a few examples of some absolute ridiculousness to run through tonight.
Well, should we start with the biggest news of the week?
What's that?
The breakup of the coalition. They're all broken up, and then they're back
Who
together,
freaking heard?
and then they're all emotional and sad. And I mean, look, it's
Sad
pretty,
and happy at the same time.
it's pretty funny. They don't have to after a month. They can't even decide that. That's how piss poor they are on their principles and policies. They can't even decide what they're doing there.
They split up, but then they're getting back together, aren't they?
That's fucking touching.
No,
Look,
it's
that's-
ridiculous. Like,
Of course, it's a
so they
complete
can't even
circus.
split up properly.
They can't even get that right. And this is why people are going, oh, we got Albo for 3s. Got him for 10.
Well,
May not be him directly, but you've got the Labor government for 10 years, pretty close to. That's if the country survives that long. I heard there was a last-minute swing to Labor of around 34% in the Chinese community. Would not surprise me in the slightest. But again, we keep on comparing Liberal and Labor and Nats, like the Lib Nats aren't a thing. Same thing. There is no difference between the two entities anymore. They are exactly the same. The whole fight between Liberal Nationals is over how much more like Labor they need to be for them to coexist.
a last-minute swing of around 34% in the Chinese community.
I wonder if that's a statewide thing or if it's a national thing in
Well,
China. I don't know. I don't know if you got any more info on that. Innocent bystander, I'm all ears, baby.
34% about what the Labor polled nationally in first preference votes.
Mm.
So,
look, and we end up with a leader who's voted in based on 34% of the population liking him.
I'm not sure what the final figure was, but it was in the mid-30s.
Yeah,
it was about 1/3.
He didn't certainly get in there with a resounding majority, with people going, "Fuck, we can't wait." This
like in the
amazing.
US, they've got a choice of 2.
Yeah.
So when you get,
we've got a choice of 2.5, maybe, kinda.
No, well, we've got a choice of many, but the way that they manipulate the system,
but you've still got a
it
choice.
Narrows it down to a choice of 2.
Yeah, that's right.
But even like in the States, and when you look at the figures over there with the people who didn't vote and everything else.
Well, that's where compulsory voting is a disaster. It's a nightmare. I think the uninterested shouldn't be allowed to participate, or should be allowed the option of not participating, because then they do dumb voting shit and we end up with the debacle we've got.
But people have been doing dumb voting shit for a long time to get us to where we are.
But no, when they're forced, when people are forced to vote,
that at the moment we're in a bad place. This bad place has been coming like a train, and
absolutely,
we've been in a bad place for a long time.
Absolutely. Richard Foley, three paper candidates in the recent election here. That needs to be banned. Well, I hate banning things. I hate mandating things. I hate stuff like that. But it would be nice to see if
well, put it this way, Richard. Anyone who votes for a paper candidate and doesn't know who they're voting for probably they
shouldn't be voting. And this
the
is where
electorate gets what they deserve.
Hence why I go. They should be eligible to sit it out and just go, you know what?
So,
not playing ball.
Banning something or allowing something or being over governing again is counterproductive to where we sit.
Well, look, and parties being paid per vote is also where you get part of that, because for those of you who don't know, and I can't remember, I don't know what the number was. I imagine Councillor Foley would have a fairly accurate idea.
I heard one the other day. It was about $5.80 per.
I thought it was $4.80. I know the couple of times that I've ran, it seems to have creeped up every election cycle. At one stage it was 4, and the magic number's 4%.
Yes.
So if you, as a party or an individual, hit 4%, I think it used to be, and don't quote me exactly on the number, but it used to be, I think you automatically got 10 grand. So if a candidate got 4%, you get a 10 grand throw your way or to the party's way, depending on, and then you get a per vote for every vote over that 4%. At a dollar rate. $3.83, Councillor Foley's telling us.
In cash to.
Well, it depends on who
organisation.
So if you're running for a party, it goes to the party.
Yeah.
Now what the party chooses to do, taxpayers.
Yeah, but in what format? Who pays it? As
comes from
the Australian
Electoral Commission. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And that money's paid into a fund. It's allocated. What is the premise of the payment? Is it to fund a campaign?
Well, yeah, it's sort of supposed to be a bit of a rebate for the campaign. Yeah. I don't know the exact.
After the fact.
I'm sure there's a bullshit wording in there. So
if you've run a plausible campaign that appears to have attracted a fair degree of the community support, the AEC will meet some of your costs.
So I guess, all right. So last federal election, I think I got 6.5%.
Yes.
Running for the Libertarians,
Yep.
that was the Liberal Democrats at the time. I didn't see $1 directly out of that. Like,
Yep.
I didn't get, oh, there's payment. I got reimbursed for the cornflutes that I paid for out of my own money. I got reimbursed by the party, as in my party, for, you know, I went and paid for, I'd pay for T-shirts
Events
and hats,
travel
or a certain amount of that stuff was reimbursed.
Yeah.
But that was only stuff that we'd already paid out. So it wasn't for that, the
you weren't making money.
Wasn't profitable for me at my level of participation.
Yeah.
Some parties will run paper candidates, and I think I know that, you know, Councillor Foley's looking at, I think there was 3 in the Riverina. One Nation, who is one of my, I guess, preferred political parties in the scope. I think they had them at 2 or 3. They're up certainly higher than the Liberal Labor Party or National Party, but I know that they do it to a degree. It's a bit of a strategy. I don't know if that's letting any cats out of any bags, but tough shit. That's the reality of life. When, for example, One Nation or the Greens or whoever runs a candidate that particularly a paper candidate that incurs bugger all expenses beyond how to vote cards on the day, that's if they even bother with that, gets 10, 15, 20%. That's quite a lot of money going towards those parties, you know, into their party machine, which self-funds, self-perpetuates. I know that a lot of the major parties, certainly the ones with big track records, such as the Liberal, Labor and National Party, are in a position where they can go to a bank and say, based on the trajectory of the last 25 years, we can guarantee we will get X amount of the vote as a minimum.
There you go. Like when you look at Riverina, for example, here we go.
Yeah.
I feel like Anthony Green. My name's Anthony Irvine.
So the Greens would have got a little bit.
The Nationals got 40.3, Labor got 18.4, One Nation got 9.9.
Yep. So 9.9.
10,446 votes at
$3 to $3.80, $4 a pop.
$4 a pop. There's 40 grand for One Nation.
Yeah.
Coming your way. Jenny Rolfe, independent. She's done well.
She's done well, yeah.
Come back and covered some of her expenses at about 7,000 votes at about $4 a pop, 28 grand.
Absolutely,
Ballpark.
So, but I mean, now in that, I don't know Jenny Rolfe, right? No. I couldn't pick her out of a police lineup. But the question, I guess, from there is, how much did she spend?
Oh, no doubt.
You know, like where that came across to participate in the
touch the side.
Well,
the Greens.
I know I spent 2/10 of
4.5%. So there's about nearly 5,000. So that you're ballparking, you know, between 15 and 20 grand for the Greens. Shooters and fishers, they got paid. No one else got paid.
So what I do know is, so for example, let's say the Libs, Labor, whichever mob, right? If, for example, they can go, okay, for the last 10 years or 10 election cycles, we've averaged, let's say 20% of the vote minimum in an electorate. They can then go to a bank. So whereas, for example, I would have to go out and dip into my own pocket and get donors and supporters and say, let's go and create some money to buy call flutes, buy advertising, to even compete, which the most money often wins in elections. We can't pretend that's not a factor. But what they can then do is they can go to a bank up front and go, based on
the most money always wins, because if you've got your Rupert Murdoch's behind you, or your Kerry Stokes is behind you,
you got all the advertising, all the marketing, all the radios, everything you want.
But you've also got all this editorial content that's coming your way.
Yeah.
And they've got a machine.
But if you're part of that, the bigger machines with those runs on the board, you can go to a bank or a lender and say, based on prior
but you won't
history. No, but they do. And this is why they do it, because they're not dipping into their own money. They go and borrow the money, knowing they can pay it back in 2 weeks' time at the end of the election cycle. And after the end of that election cycle, they go back to the lender. There's your money back. Thanks very much. Whatever's left is ours. Good job, Bob. Now, as Councillor Foley here, as of 2025, Australia has introduced major federal electoral funding reforms. Public funding's increased to $5 a vote if you get your 4% or more. Advance payments of funding are now allowed. How the frig would that work? Donation disclosure threshold's been lowered to $5 grand, which any of us that have done campaigns on less than $5 grand, which I've done a couple of them, that's a pain in the ass. Far more, you know, paperwork than any of us would like to do. Donation caps of 20,000 per donor per recipient. I imagine, am I wrong, that would cover specific, maybe lower house or upper house candidates, or is that everybody? Because obviously, if you're going to donate,
That's federal.
yeah, but if you're going to donate $20,000 to a political party, that's not a drop in the ocean. Poor old Gina Reinhardt would be.
No, you've got to declare
struggling.
20 grand and up, or
How
it's
would-
capped.
Yeah, that's well, it says donation cap, and I haven't looked at it since I was a party.
No, Gina,
you know,
flat
head on.
around easy enough.
I imagine. Spending caps 90 million per party, 800K per candidate. Yeah, right. That makes a bit more sense. I'm getting further down the list here. Real-time donation disclosures are now reside. Major changes from 1st of July. And again, there's the next phase of that.
But
We've
that-
talked about that in multiple things. That feeds the big government machine,
Yes.
because you know what? Little Joe Blow, Councillor Richard Foley here, needs an entire team to manage all that bullshit
Yes.
for him.
All the compliance, it just gets harder and harder.
It's harder and harder to compete and to
harder and
participate.
harder to go fishing in this world.
Yeah, but
It's harder and harder to go
yes.
fishing. It's harder and harder to be a politician. It's harder and harder to do everything.
It's harder and harder to throw
It's
corrupt
harder and
politicians out of
harder
helicopters.
over at Coolerman to run an event and function centre.
Yes, well, you know, like you'll end up in the paper again.
Well, I'm just a bit confused because
I spend a lot of my time confused when I read the Temora Dependent.
I've got the Temora Unrelenting Bugle,
The Hit Job Herald.
from Thursday, April 17th. And council has received correspondence. No. Okay, this is the deal with Steph Cook and some stuff to do with a development over at Coolerman, where there's a function, cellar door and function centre, that was built initially as a shed on a property. Then it was they went back and they put a further application in to run it as a function centre. And apparently it's been approved as a shed. They haven't got their final occupation certificate as a function centre, but apparently there's some allegations that there's been some functions held. Now,
I have functions at my house every so often as well. Do I need a council permit for that?
but listen to this. This is in the Temora Independent from Thursday, April 17th. The report to council stated the claims being made were associated with misinformation that council is standing in the way of development. The information is sourced from Facebook. It has no factual foundation base from which to confirm what is being said by the individual, the report stated. Nobody has directly contacted council formally to discuss the matter. One of the conditions of consent was that the building could not be used until the road is sealed, which was explained to Mr. Furner. Blah, 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 blah. On it goes, and there's a bit of toing and froing, but basically, it says at this point, council has received no request to meet with the owner of the property or any others to discuss any or all accusations and uninformed feedback being sprouted on social media. Council said it did not enter into debates or correct information on social media. There are formal and appropriate channels for people to contact council to resolve issues, and these have not been used to date, the report stated. Council is required under its statutory role to investigate this matter. This is currently ongoing. Now,
has there been any developments?
Well, this is April 17th.
Yeah.
April 17th, that report is. This is council's currently investigating.
How's their investigation going? Are they winning?
Well,
Have they shelved the misinformation from those horrible plebs who have the audacity to question their authority?
but at the moment, if you go back and you look at the minutes of Coolerman Shire Council from March,
Yeah.
it looks as though they've had their investigation and this is what they've reported.
I'd like to
At the
report.
conclusion of their investigations, well, put it this way. At the conclusion of their investigations, they've got some statements here in their minutes of their meeting from March 2025. What council need to determine is, was an occupation certificate issued for the use of a residential shed? Answer, no. Generally, not a serious offence, as council can allow the landowner or resident to finish without risk or danger. So sometimes there won't be an occupation certificate issued, and council will give that individual a little bit of time without issuing a fine to bring it
to do what?
To bring it into compliance.
To bring what into compliance?
The residential shed.
It's his shed.
Yes.
Well, what does he need an occupational certificate to use his own shed?
Well, this is just how it is when Big Brother's standing over you.
Big Brother can kiss my big
Were
fat
events held at the
posterior.
property and in the shed? This is point 2.
Oh,
This is part of this.
I've had many barbecues and beers using my shed.
Answer, yes, there is evidence provided that proves events were held. It is irrelevant if these events were private, paid for, or included relatives.
Hang on. So, hang on. Whoa.
No.
How can it be possibly irrelevant? Does that mean that
no.
anybody having a party in a shed,
No.
anywhere that
The
they are?
differentiation is that the DA is now for a function centre.
So what?
Point 3 will help you understand.
Point 3 will probably fry my brain.
Has an application for a function centre been received by council prior to these events being held? And the council answer is yes. The DA approval was in August 2024, and the events were around Christmas and New Year. So council is in receipt of an application for a function centre, and council are alleging that functions have been held.
Oh, no.
Had an occupation certificate for the use of the building as a function centre been issued? And this is council's answer. No, this is still yet to occur, and the building does not have appropriate fire safety provisions or toilet facilities. So at this point in time, the options available to council were: issue a final warning letter in response to the unapproved use of the building, or issuing a penalty infringement notice for occupying or use building without required certificate, not a Class 1A/10 building, to the value of $6,000 for a business or $3,000 for an individual. So that's a fine. Or option 3, initiating Class 4 proceedings in the New South Wales Land and Environment Court. Now, the recommendation from council officers in March at Coolaman Shire Council were to issue a fine.
Can I recommend that councillors be thrown out of helicopters?
Well,
Is that a
you can put forward a motion and that'll get voted
motion? Yeah, I think that
if
motion
you're
should be
in the
voted
room.
upon.
Now, it was resolved on the motion of Councillor Higginson and seconded by Councillor Hattie that council issue a final warning letter in response to the unapproved use of the building. So,
And Councillor Hutchin, Councillor Hutchin wasn't happy. Who's Councillor Hutchin?
Councillor Hutchin said he voted against that. So,
Fuck.
but that seems to be in conflict with that, because that happened a month before that was written.
Well, these people tell lies. So that's what their paper does. They make up bullshit. The only reason I didn't sue them was because they actually told some truths about me, and I wasn't overly worried about it. But as far as the other bullshit goes, they're quite happy to tell lies and bullshit every opportunity they get.
Well,
Howard's here. How are you, buddy? Good to see you, sir. Always a pleasure. We draw the finest crowds, I'm telling you.
yeah, we do.
We do.
Look, it's all. There are not many of us sensible people in the world,
I don't
and
know.
we've just got to support each other and stick together.
I think,
No, seriously, and there will never be. Just don't get carried away. Just understand.
I don't
There are a lot of silly people.
I don't want to understand these people. I have no inclination to befriend. Actually, the new Greens leader. Are you familiar with that bimbo?
No,
Dumb as a bag of hammers, right? Yeah,
no,
seriously.
not interested.
The poor.
Not interested, Your Honour.
The only reason I'm interested is because I'm sitting there looking at it today. Now, this fucking idiot on Twitter.
Hang on, we're going back. We're just going to finish up this other.
Well,
point.
yeah. I figured while you were looking, I'd just put out some fun facts while you're searching and doing that researching business you like.
No, well, look, this is the important part. There's a post here from a fellow now I went back and I researched this and followed it up.
Goodness.
Now, the applicant, the person involved here.
Pardon me.
Now, on the 21st of March, there was a post on this individual who appears to have drawn the ire of Coolum Shire Council, who says, thumbs up to all the Coolum councillors who voted in favour of the warning letter instead of a $3,000 fine, and to the one who didn't. Moving forward, I think if communication was better amongst the council and developers on regulations and what's allowed and not allowed, things wouldn't get to this point. It's still confusing, and I'm needing some further clarification on what's allowed for the cellar door, the function centre, and private gatherings, which we will be discussing further. At this stage, we will only be using the venue as a function centre and are committed to doing up to 20 weddings per year when this is approved, but not anything to do with tourism for Coolum. So the point there, I think, is that there won't be anything to draw visitors to the area. They'll be using it as a function centre, so people can use it as a venue.
Yeah.
But it won't be an attraction in its own right for people to say, well, I'm going to go out there and have a
Right. Well,
glass of wine or visit Coolum or spend some money in the Shire.
Why would you
else.
want to donate anything extra to the Shire after they've done that to you? I'd be going,
well,
bugger off.
Look, it's just the compliance, the effort. That's a big example of something that's occurred. Now, there's a story that popped up this morning about the council down at Bega.
Oh, what have those corrupt pricks done? I assume they're corrupt.
There's a fellow
by default
who's got no house, and he built a little tiny home on wheels on a rural property.
Yeah.
And apparently the council are now upset.
Of course they are.
And they're telling him that he has to take it away, and he's got nowhere to live. So what do you do?
Who owns the property? Is it his private property?
No, it's on a friend's place.
It's on a friend's place. So it's none of their fucking business. I'll put 50 people's bloody wheel homes in my backyard just to prove a goddamn point. What the hell is wrong with these people?
The guy's name's Manu. Manu has been told to demolish his tiny home, but he'll be homeless without it.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a government thing that these dickheads would do. Let's whinge about the homelessness crisis and then go around and tell people they've got to abolish the homes that they've got because they don't meet standards.
But also,
councils need.
I think this area is also suffering massively from a housing shortage due to the bushfires.
I believe that
preceded COVID.
I recall down there. I was actually down in that period of.
Well, this is up the road from Malakuta and all those other.
Yeah. I remember the area. I went down and spent quite a bit of time there around the time of the Eden Monero by-election a few years ago that I sort of participated in.
This is just the opening paragraph. When the Black Summer bushfires tore through the Bega Valley on the New South Wales south coast in late 2019, Manu Bones, 30, was faced with the reality of becoming homeless. Whilst he was able to save the property he was temporarily staying in, he was left scrambling to find a new place to live after a breakup. So he's split up and he's had to find somewhere to live.
A common problem in today's society.
So here we are. Having moved to Australia from Brazil in 2018, Manu said he was priced out of the property market and resorted to building a tiny home atop a caravan on a friend's property as a last-ditch option 2 years ago.
That's disgraceful. How dare he do that?
But he and the property owner did not seek council permission or apply for a development approval for the dwelling, though he says he did build it based on state legislation. So the council recently sent him a draft order stating the tiny home needs to be removed or demolished to abide by the New South Wales Environment and Planning legislation. Failure to do so could trigger legal proceedings with potential for a court-imposed fine of $1 million maximum.
$1 million.
Manu says it would make him homeless. So here we are.
Every single councillor and council official that supports that sort of shit needs a flogging.
Well,
they need to be dragged and flogged and end of story.
It's part of the whole game.
I don't care what part of it is. That's wrong. That's bullshit. If they don't see it, they're dead set scum and they deserve to be treated accordingly.
No, but choice has been taken out of our hands because we're being dictated to. We're being dictated to in the building codes. We're being dictated to in the development codes. We're being dictated to in all the council codes. And basically they're saying you must live in a house that we approve of, on land we approve of, with services we approve of. and you must pay.
Manu's living in a caravan on his friend's property, who's probably already being taxed and raped and pillaged. I'm on that council. The answer is fucking leave the guy alone.
No,
Shut up and mind you. Of course
you
you
can't.
can.
No,
You don't know about it. I didn't look at his backyard.
No,
None of my
you can't
business.
do that.
How?
Because you'll have all
What
this,
made you drive down and look at his
no,
yard?
but you'll have all this pushback from all these other people who have to comply with your
I'm
rules.
looking forward to some pushback.
You can't
with these
ignore
pricks.
the rules.
Oh, I could do all sorts
No,
of
you
ignoring
can't ignore the rules because the rules are the foundation that all of this wealth. Oh no, this
corruption. What?
Yes, the whole system is built upon. And you can't send Mr. Ferner a $3,000 fine unless you enforce the rules.
Well, and
like I say, it's all about the carrot and the stick.
Oh, I'm all for
and
the
they
stick
get you
these
and they
days.
hit you with the stick, and what they do with the carrot, well, we won't talk about
It's time to start hitting a few of these pricks back with some sticks. I think that's where we're at.
But the whole thing is, and look, here we are in a situation where we've got what on earth is going to happen up around Taree after these floods? There's going to be homeless people everywhere. They're going to be living.
No, they won't.
Dogs and cats living together.
They will
Dogs
not.
and
That's
cats
not
will be living together.
They will not. Council will not allow it.
People
will
will
not
be sleeping in lounges. There'll be more than the acceptable level of people.
And they're going to have some fucking twit from council with a clipboard going, excuse me, are you permitted to live in this house?
Yes, absolutely.
Fuck off. These people.
That's what it's going to be like.
They can kiss my fat ass is what they can do. Absolutely.
Their rules don't apply when you've got crisis.
Kiss my ass.
And we've got a crisis. We've got
there's a 15 million crisis.
If you turn on the TV, it will tell you we've got a cost of living crisis. We've got a housing crisis.
There's a climate crisis.
There's a climate crisis.
The fucking crisis we have is we have a crisis of over-governance and corrupt dickheads.
Bullshit. There's a crisis in wankers. There's a crisis in people kicking a bloke out of a situation where he's put a roof over his own head. Him and his mate built it. And look, I'm telling you, this story, it's on a SBS story on the feed. He built the thing with steel frame. It looks like a modern construction. Yeah. He's done a good job.
Yeah, he's probably quite a capable fellow.
Yes. And he's not allowed to live on his mate's joint.
No, of course not.
No, how dare you?
They're just wankers, mate. They do my head in. Councillor Foley here, over-regulated BS. The planning system's utterly broken. The planning portal in New South Wales is chaotic and unworkable. And at the end of the day, you, as a free private citizen, if you own your own land and you want to let somebody live in your fucking backyard, that's entirely up to you. No dickhead at council gets a vote, in my opinion. So if there is anybody that I can probably tolerate that wants to move into my shed for a period of time to prove a point,
is this Councillor Foley or is this yours? Have you?
Oh, I just expanded on there. No, I'm half offering my shed just to prove a point. Fuck them.
No, and this is the whole thing. There's a certain level.
Good to see you, Tim. Thank you.
There's a certain level of compliance that people will accept, and then there's a level of over governance that people will reject. And when you've got a choice, like the best example, and we've seen this 100 times, and we talk about it regularly on this show, when the government tax a product like a legal product like tobacco to the moon, law-abiding citizens break the law and they buy excise-free, dodgy illegal,
dodgy products that will kill them, that aren't government-approved versions of the dodgy products that will kill them.
But
because if you're going to kill yourself with a legal product, with a product that we like,
we've got
as long as we get our cut, like a good good mafia bosses, as long as we get a cut, you do whatever you like.
Yes.
Fucking parasites, the whole lot.
But this is the whole thing. But this is where it's coming to. It's coming to the point where there's homeless people in this country. One of the richest countries in the world. You know, they're going to get thrown out on the street. Where's Manu going to go?
Manu?
What's Manu going to do? He's going to go back to his house, his poor Betty in Bega?
Yeah. No, get a place in Mossman, you see.
Probably.
You know, I don't know, go in and overlook the bay somewhere.
With views of the harbour.
These people are dumb as fuck. I've just received a communications
from
a viewer, a supporter, a watcher. And it's a Facebook post by Johnny Larder.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Johnny Larder, for those of you who don't know, John's a good fella, bloody good fella. He was the federal election that I ran in a couple of years ago here against Mr. McCormack, Johnny was one of our upper house candidates for the Lib Dems.
What brought him to public
Prominence.
attention was he was a councillor on Tumut Valley's
Shire
Shire
Council,
Council.
and he refused the jab, and he got the sack as a paramedic.
Yes. And he got a lot of support from the community who were a bit upset. And again, it was government overreach and just telling people what they had to do. Like, if a paramedic's not aware of his own health situation,
yeah, that's right.
Then who?
That's right. And look, all the evidence that keeps coming out over and over about
like a politician like Barnaby Joyce on the squirt has more say than John Larder, who's a paramedic, a trained paramedic, as to his own.
Yes, yes. Well, I'm going to read it because now this is from Johnny Larder, 22 hours. Yeah, maybe we should invite John on the show one night too. I don't know. I keep talking about who we'll invite on the show, but then I've got to actually do the work of talking to him through the week.
Oh, I know. And that's bloody hectic.
My life's a bit retarded and mental at the moment, but and the reason this is obviously relevant is because it's about our local mayor.
Ooh.
So now John Larder, Liberal Democrat Senate candidate for New South Wales. So that's a bit of an old page, but is with Ben Fordham and 4 others on the 22 hours ago. So I don't know whether it's on radio or what. The Mayor of Temora, Mr. Rick Furman, is on some advisory panel to New South Wales Health with the Minister Ryan Park. You mentioned him the other week. But it's impossible to get anyone to engage in anything about the mRNA shots. The US government is on the verge of halting them, but the carnage continues here in Australia. The minister must halt these jabs and hold an urgent forum. How many more people have to die? Now, down here we've got, it was an honour to have attended a meeting of the New South Wales Regional Health Ministers Advisory Panel in Sydney today. Our Regional Health Minister, the Honourable Ryan Park MP, deserves credit for continuing with the advisory panel. This was established by the inaugural, now former, Regional Health Minister, the Honourable Bronnie Taylor, in the previous coalition government. There are 10 panel members led by our chairman, Dr. Richard Colburn, PhD, who were appointed minister by Minister Park for a 3-year term. They're a top group of people to work beside, covering all regional, rural and remote areas. Now, I'm just going to have to scroll in a little bit. And there's a photo of the mayor, heaven forbid. Even in these photos, he can't help himself. And Mr. Rick Furman, 55 minutes prior to this being taken place, it would appear, according to the Post, so not 55 minutes ago from now. What's quite impressive is the solid respect both Minister Park and former Minister Taylor have for each other. Still to this day. That's because they're all in fucking cahoots. The red team and the blue team with their little Nationals friends are all in cahoots. This is one of the many fine examples of how those on opposite sides of the political spectrum can work well together and be great mates. I don't want to be mates with bloody dead shits. Now, John Larder has also commented, when are you going to hold a forum on the dangers of mRNA shots? They are about to ban them in the US, but our ignorant politicians and bureaucrats just carry on regardless. The vaccine has injured and killed so many. I don't even like to call it a vaccine because it's not. It hasn't saved anybody from anything. It's a disaster. Has injured and killed so many. We now know 35 people died on the same day of vaccination, and the 2GA didn't do their job. I'm advised 18 staff at Bulli Hospital now have cancers, and we need a royal commission. But more importantly, Rick Furman, you should be advocating for, and then I can't see the next layer. So if that viewer can get the rest of John's tweet there as to what he's tagged Rick Furman in, I'd be more than happy to read the rest of the tweet out. I'd be more than happy to tackle that little problem there. So
Mayor Rick Furman's on a health advisory panel. Now, what's Mayor Rick Furman's credentials to be on that panel?
I have no idea.
As far as I know, Mayor Rick Furman is the retail. He owns a retail business in Temora.
Yes,
retailing men's clothing.
Well, that's certainly a qualification unto itself, is it not?
Yes, but
that is a beacon of fire.
You don't have to go to any. You don't have to get any professional training or any recognised training to be a retailer of men's fashions.
You don't?
No.
Surely.
No, there's no certificate in inside leg measurements or whatever it might be. No, seriously, there's not.
Really? You can just measure inside men's legs.
You can do inside leg measurements as much as you like.
That's terribly romantic.
We'll let you.
That's me.
But no, the point is this: what qualifies someone to be on that panel?
Well, apparently not fucking much.
Well, but no.
Apparently having the time to put your hand up and go, I'd like to
it's an
do this
invitation
shit.
only. Bronnie Taylor. Bronnie Taylor.
Andrew Thaler's girlfriend.
Bronnie Taylor, married to
She's married into a
Richard Taylor, I think, who's
Angus
Taylor's
Taylor's
brother.
Yeah, that's right. There's definitely a link in there. They're part of the Eden Monero royal family out there.
Yes, so, and a staunch national.
Very staunch.
Or
Yes.
liberal.
No, they're, well, I think Bronnie was a Nat
Yeah.
and Angus is a liberal. Hence the current breakup's not great for the family. They'll have to work that out. Shouldn't be asking the questions about these things. Questions of science denying. You don't want to be a science denier, do you? Oh, Tim, my friend, I can give a flying fuck about a lot of the false, the science. I'm happy enough to make my own decisions, do my own thinking, and kind of go, okay, that makes sense or that doesn't. And there's plenty of scientists that disagree. They just usually get blocked and banned from having their opinion. The Great Barrier Reef's Dr. Peter Ridd was, a very interesting case of that. All good. So I've just received the follow-up. I love it. Live at its best. See, Channel 10 can't do this shit.
No.
Okay, so let's see what we've got here. So there are 10 panel members led by a chairman, Dr. Richard Colburn, who's appointed. Yep. No, you've only sent through half. I'm looking for the bit there of Johnny Larder's comment. Hang on. I'll put it up to the screen. So if you have a look here, that part, the bottom there where it's kind of cut off down here, if you can send through that last little bit, that'd be brilliant. Thank you, good sir. I'd like to see the rest of it.
Anyway, Bronnie was a Nat, and believe it or not, Rick Furman's a staunch supporter of the Nats.
Well, brilliant move appointing the local pants merchant to a health advisory panel. Who better to guide public health policy than a bloke whose greatest clinical achievements measuring inseams and upselling socks? Maybe next we'll have colonoscopies done in the change rooms and STI advice tucked into suit pockets. At this rate, the next Minister for Health will be a barista with a CPR certificate and a good beard. And a man bun. Must have a man bun. Very, very important. If you don't have a man bun, you can't possibly be in that space.
I'd much prefer to see people who are actually involved in health as a profession. And
well, if I've got a choice between taking health advice from a certified paramedic for, I don't know, what was it, 20 years before he lost his job, or the bloke who sells suits downtown when he's not busy putting himself on every fucking committee in Australia, I know who I'm taking health advice from. And it's not going to be the bloke selling the suits.
No. But he manages to get on a lot of committees, this fella selling the suits.
It's because most people have fucking jobs to do and haven't got this sort of time up their sleeve for bullshit.
Right, let's keep it rocking.
So rock and rolling, you reckon? And the only time I'll chime back in is when I get the rest of that statement via the text message.
I don't know
comment
whether this Coolerman stuff is synced up or not, but it looks as though the Temora Independent was a bit late to the party with that story. Now, let's have a look at the Temora Independent today. Now, apparently brown water's here to stay. Eradicating the issue is unfortunately not possible. So it looks like we've got dirty water forever, which is a bit sad. Once upon a time, people used to catch water in a tank off the roof, and it wasn't brown unless a possum died in it. Anyway, apparently we've got the best water money can buy, and it's brown.
It's brown.
Well,
that's okay.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's racist.
Now, we both looked at this pre-show.
We did skim it, yeah.
In our pre-show, our big preparations that we do each week for 15 minutes. Now, Temora Shire Council addresses the housing crisis. Now, council have appointed a lady called Kathy Swan, and they've created a position called the Vacant Homes Project Officer. Temora Shire Council is pleased to announce significant progress in the Vacant Homes Project, aimed at addressing the housing crisis affecting our community. Well, maybe they should share this information with Bega Valley, because they've got a crisis as well. Following the appointment of Kathy Swan as the Vacant Homes Project Officer, substantial strides have been made in identifying and understanding the reasons behind the high number of vacant homes in the Shire. Now, there's nobody from the Temora Independent who's claimed this article, so I imagine it's probably provided by council.
You'd have to think so. Aren't you a councillor?
A little bit of, well, this is the first I've heard of it.
Yeah, right. Aren't they?
We've spoken about it as an issue because there is obviously a situation where there's a lot of people who are looking for rentals and can't find rentals, and there's a lot of homes that aren't occupied. So you can drive up a lot of streets and the houses aren't occupied for various reasons. I didn't know council were going to the extreme of actually employing someone to turn it into a project.
Yeah, right. And I guess unless those homes are vacant based on nobody owning them, which I find that hard to believe, again, it's really nobody at council's business. Obviously, it's sad if people are homeless, but how are they planning on solving this?
Well, would you believe?
What's
Listen to this, and this just comes from the fellow who sells pants. And he says, I'm incredibly proud of the significant progress council have made with the Vacant Homes Project. This initiative is crucial in addressing the housing crisis that affects our community, particularly impacting essential workers such as doctors, nurses, teachers, and senior council staff. Now, just hold on to that thought, senior council staff. I'll come back to that.
I am always very, very worried about senior council staff.
Mayor Rick Furman said, the pants seller, for clarification. The next phase, now this is the next phase of the plan, which I didn't even know there was a plan. I'm serious. I did not know.
So this is news to you. Like,
this level is news to me. It's been discussed at council, but I didn't know that we'd actually progressed.
We'd employed somebody and paid. I wonder why they're getting paid.
But even listen to this, and I'm a little bit concerned about this.
I mean, she could be a lovely lady. I got no fucking idea.
It doesn't matter.
No, yeah, but that's right. I've got no clue whether she's or not.
And this sounds a bit creepy.
Yeah.
The next phase involves identifying and photographing every vacant home to create a comprehensive database.
Surely there's no legal grounds to be going around taking sneaky photos.
This will be followed by sending letters and questionnaires to all owners of vacant homes to gather feedback on the barriers to renting out their properties.
Well, I've done renting out of my property and the joint got trashed and the tenants were shit and I couldn't get them out when I wanted them out and I'm still cleaning up the fucking mess. Well, so I wouldn't do it again. And I would quite happily leave those people to be homeless forever.
Survey data will be analysed to uncover the most common reasons for housing vacancies, which will guide the development of targeted solutions to address these issues. Council will present to local community groups and council meetings to raise awareness of the project and encourage community. So council will present to local community groups and council meetings to raise awareness of the project. Well, that'd be nice.
Wouldn't you like to know about the project?
I'd like to be at a council meeting where they raise awareness of the project.
So what, Rick Furman's going to be running around with a fucking camera taking photos of houses that he thinks and deems are potentially fucking vacant.
The success of the project will be monitored by measuring the increase in housing availability in the area.
Ooh, click. Oh, hang on, shit. That house isn't vacant. That's a couple in there having sex together, adults consenting. Oh, that'd be a bit creepy with Rick jumping up with a camera or one of the other councillors. You're not going to be running around doing that as part of your council role, are you?
What I want to know is what
delusion gives these people the right to think they can go around and look at other people's houses like it's anything to do with them?
What can council do?
Nothing. Apparently they can run around with cameras like little peeping toms. What they used to call
letters to people.
What they used to call them when they peep through the windows and what have you.
There's supposed to be some invasion of privacy where you...
Fucking oath it is. If I own a house and some arsehole pops up with a camera...
But an unsolicited approach from a council about the rental status of your property should be your business. If you're paying the rates, then that should be the end of the story.
Yeah, it's none of their fucking business. So this is a complete, again, I don't know if she's a nice lady, don't know if she's a horrible lady. She could be fantastic. It's not an indictment on this person who's accepted the job. What it is it's a job that has no business even existing because it's none of council's goddamn business. What's the purpose? What's the
What's the
legalities
budget?
of
What's the purpose?
what's the legalities of sneaking around taking fucking photos of people's
And then sending
people's
letters
property?
to people saying, "Why aren't you renting this house out?"
Because I don't like people very much, and I don't wish to rent my property out to dead shits. Thank you.
Yeah, and look, I'm trying to buy as many properties as I can and leave them vacant to push the price of property up in the area. I don't know. Yuck, yuck, yuck. Like,
Like,
Dr. Evil. Who friggin' knows?
and it's still, out of all the people, these clowns aren't going to be the ones to solve it.
But they've got no.
There's no grounds. There's no
There's
rights.
no power.
There's no. It's just pure audacity and having this
It's
ridiculous notion of own self-importance that we're going to go around and do this.
A number of homes would be affected by.
I'm tempted to buy one and just leave it vacant just to test the theory. Anyone want to go shares? We'll buy a house.
A number of vacant homes would be vacant due to deceased estates yet to be finalised. Okay, so the house will sit there vacant, and
as one of the most aging populations in the country, New South Wales, which I believe Australia is, or Timor is. Sorry,
some of the homes would be vacant because people are getting long-term medical treatment elsewhere.
Could be.
Some of the homes will be vacant because people are not gaming the system, but the current system, when you're accessing aged care, probably doesn't support the sale of that home for the benefits process of the accessing the aged care part of it.
Yeah, right.
So
fair
there's
enough.
Technicalities and legalities around if you sell your home, how much money you've got as to how much you pay for your aged care, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, some of these homes will be held for that purpose. There's all sorts of different reasons. Some of the homes probably aren't fit to be rented out, and maybe the person who owns the home hasn't got the finances to do so.
Yes, quite potentially.
Perhaps there's some sort of moves afoot, perhaps Albanese-esque moves whereby tomorrow council might buy the homes.
Oh, well, or forcibly take the homes. Is that a thing? Or, I mean, we know they like to pretend that they're, they like to pretend that they're conservative.
They are actually
free marketeers.
No, I'm 100% convinced, and there's absolutely overwhelming evidence that our mayor, Councillor Rick Furman,
is a Labor Party member.
Well, he's massively enamored with big government, and he wants to be a part of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's never been a doubt of it. No,
he is big government all the way.
Which is why the Liberal Party's deceased. It's why the National Party, as soon as all these dinosaurs sort of die out a little bit,
he is a massive
going
supporter
to be dead in the water.
He wants committees, inquiries, advisory panels. He's on the Country Mayors Association. They want to have an advisory panel.
The antithesis of everything that the Liberal Party was supposed to stand for. Robert Menzies would laugh his ass off at these people. He'd be like, he'd probably be throwing them out of helicopters too, I suspect, because it's a complete debacle and a disgrace what the Liberal Party has become under these types of humans with their bullshit and big government anti-freedom.
The real Slim Shady has stood up, and honestly, the real Slim Shady says, "I want big government."
Mate, we've already got a common sense committee in tomorrow, but no, we won't get paid for it because we're not in the business of ripping people off, mate. Right? That's not what we do.
Okay.
I like to give value for money, and if somebody wants to pay me, they'll be actually happy with the service. Unlike many of us who are going, "What the fuck are we being robbed blind for?"
Now, council received a development application for a house in the CBD.
Yeah.
Now, just to some context, there's a property in town that's on that property, on the one parcel of land is the Westpac Bank.
Yep.
A fair amount of vacant land and an old stables down the back of the block.
Yep.
Now, there's been a DA come before council where somebody wants to build a house, a residence, on that block.
Do they own the block?
Well, they must.
Okay, well, arguably, I can give a shit, build whatever you like.
Yes, but that is okay in your world, in the Dean world.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know where this is going.
But in Dean world,
yeah,
if you built that house and then somebody bought a building next door and opened a nightclub, in Dean world, you wouldn't have any right to complain, would you?
No, that's tough shit. That's life.
Yeah,
That's how it
because
works.
you live there, and if you don't like it, move.
Correct. Sell your
because
place or move.
They own that, and they
Or you chase them out, or you tolerate it, or you work it out. Some people who buy houses under flight paths and then get the shit. Oh, I bought it cheap because it's opposite a railway line or under a flight path.
But
and then they go, oh,
but
it's
what if
noisy.
But what if you bought a house out in the open rural farmlands and then they put an airport there?
Well, unfortunately, sometimes shit happens in life.
Right. No, well, see, these are the things that anyway.
Shit happens quite often.
There's zoning. There's such a thing as zoning. There's things that mean that if you have an industrial
I do understand what they mean. Okay. I just for clarification.
If you've got an industrial area, you can build industrial buildings and run businesses out of there, and you can't build a house in there. But it also means you can't go and build a welding fabrication factory in the middle of a residential subdivision and then get your 9-inch grinder out at 7 in the morning and wake up all the neighbours on a Sunday grinding steel.
You buy the property, you do whatever the hell you like.
Well, I'm just saying,
your neighbours are eligible to go knock on the door and say, I'm not real happy with this.
Now, the idea of building a residence in this location is a little bit incongruous with what the location is.
Yeah.
It's in the CBD. It's zoned local centre. Now, standalone residential buildings aren't catered for in the local centre. In the local centre, you could build a row of offices and you could put flats above and people could live in the flats, but pretty much it's for commerce. It's for that type of undertaking. Now, to sort of bring some context to this.
Yeah.
When this was originally considered and council started talking to the applicants, there was the exploitation of a little loophole being explored because there's a stables on the block, and the idea was that the stables would be redeveloped into a some sort of
commercial
rentable accommodation.
Yeah.
And then the remainder of the block would be developed into a residence.
Yeah.
Which was the exploitation of a loophole. And apparently, when that was investigated a little bit further, the location of this stable that was going to be converted into accommodation was directly under some high voltage power lines or in close proximity to.
Yeah.
Which precluded it from being used as a residence. So Essential Energy said, not a hope. So this development application, to my mind, and this is my opinion,
which where we all okay,
appears to have been redrafted to try and get a residence built, but via another means.
Sure.
Because it can't, like, the only thing that will allow you to build a residence is it's got to be a commercial premises, and then you can have a residence attached. In the original DA, it's like 95% residence, 5% commercial. They were, to my mind,
they
were pushing the boundaries of the zoning.
Sure.
But there was a tenuous link to that. Well, with the information from Essential Energy saying that you can't do that with that part of it, then basically that link disappears.
Sure.
Well, this is a part of the discussion that was had at Temora Shire Council's meeting last Thursday. This is I'll just play it and we'll pause it and comment. Apparently, the use of the stable isn't going to be pursued as accommodation, and it appears as though the applicants are now trying to have this dwelling approved under some heritage clause. Now that's myself speaking.
Yep.
On the matter. In regards to the motion. I've got some reservations allowing this unless council want to go and change their LEP or their DCP and allow it for future applicants as well. Now, let's just flesh that point out. If you're going to change a rule, if you're going to allow exceptions to the rule, then you're pretty much got to allow it for everyone.
Yeah.
So if we're going to build houses in the CBD, everyone can build a house in the CBD.
I'm good with that. Yep.
That's my point.
Yeah.
So if we're going to go down this path when you haven't really got any justification, well, to my mind, any real justification, you're out of gas with the zoning, then you pretty much have got to let everyone do it, and you've got to change the zoning or change the LEP or the DCP.
Or you mind your business, and if somebody buys it, they do what they want with it.
The parking provided for this application is going to impact parking for local business people in that area, because the parking provided really only caters for the staff at the Westpac Bank and car parks for the owners of the residents. So anyone who visits.
Pardon me, Councillor Irvine.
Now, as we all know, I've got 5 minutes to talk on a point.
Yeah.
As part of the Temora
Well, we
Shire
know
Council
that now. We've
Code
learned.
of meeting practice.
We've learned this. Yes.
Now, the mayor, the chair of the meeting, is interrupted here after I was sort of underway for about less than a minute.
Well, we could time that and we can work.
We can go
out.
back.
Sure, we can do that. We can.
We don't need
if we really wanted to, we could.
Take our word for it. So listen to what the mayor has to say.
This is the guy who sells pants.
Yes.
If you can just pause for a moment, please. I'd ask the acting director, can you just, for the rest of the council's benefit, including our newer councillors, is what Councillor Irvine is saying, is that indeed correct, those reflections? Just to be sure.
Through Mr. Mayor, so it is correct that originally the applicants did intend that they would have liked to alter the use of the existing barn building to become a dwelling. And so that was the initial application. It didn't actually come to council though for that approval, because on initial feedback from Essential Energy, they rejected that proposal because they said it was unsuitable to have a dwelling created underneath a power line. So the applicants had to look for a different way to achieve essentially the same thing.
Right. Let's look at that statement.
Yes.
The applicants had to look for a different way to essentially achieve the same thing.
Yes.
So the way that they wanted to achieve that thing had been
thwarted by
vetoed.
by the evil forces of councils.
No, by Essential Energy.
Well, they could be evil forces too. Yes.
So the owners then were forced to look for a different way to achieve essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
They've come at us with a proposal under the heritage type guidelines
that they thought they were going to be able to achieve using the heritage clause and allowing for a change of use of an existing building, and acknowledging that there is also potential for residential accommodation above the Westpac Bank. So it essentially looks identical to the same application that was originally submitted, but wasn't brought to determination by council because it was rejected by Essential Energy for the change of use of the barn building. So they're bringing it back forward in a different way, which is also permitted, but because it is not routinely used for approval, it's appropriate that it's brought for council's determination.
So this heritage clause that they're
Banging on about,
isn't routinely used. So,
well, that's all right. Lots of things aren't routinely used. Doesn't mean they shouldn't be. Tarring and feathering of politicians.
It was just important to tease that out long ago that we can be forgiven for getting certain aspects of that consideration. Thank you. So, Councillor Irvine, to conclude.
Oh, to continue.
There's other speakers, that's all. So
Yeah, I've got 5 minutes.
Thank you. Councillor Irvine, you have the call.
Okay, so to conclude,
No, fuck.
to what? You interrupted me, mate. To conclude, no, Councillor Furman, to continue.
To continue, I'm not done.
Yes,
I'm not done.
you interrupted me.
Yeah, fucking unbelievable, isn't it? So
Yeah.
over the last 5 minutes in that room,
Well-
my brain would explode.
No, you've just got to take your time. You've got to be patient.
No, you don't. You go, listen, dickhead, stop it. Just stop it, right? I got 5 minutes. I'm going to talk for my 5 minutes. And after that, you can have your 5 minutes, I guess, as part of the rules. Is that how it works? Like, seriously.
Well, to conclude, you bullfed.
Oh, fuck.
Councillor Irvine, to conclude. Well, other people have to talk. Well, look at your code of meeting practice, mate.
I didn't write it. I'm playing.
got
You are
5 minutes.
you are playing by the rules. I'm not.
Yeah,
You are.
I've got 5 minutes. And you're telling me I can't, and you're the chair.
Fucking hell.
No, that's the sort of bullshit that I put up with on a monthly basis.
I think I'm going
To
to
conclude, no.
I think it's I think a Nobel Peace Prize is in your future. I'm definitely going to nominate you one because I'd be fucking throwing stuff.
Mate, I'm telling
I'm
you.
not
Anyway,
cut out to put up with that sort of bullshit.
there's the
Jesus
context of
Christ.
this conversation and this. So pretty much what I said in the preamble was borne out by the council officer.
Yes.
Okay, so we've had long and lengthy discussions concerning it. Now, Tom Gosling,
Oh, Tommy.
Who's
How's
flying low-
Tommy going? Is he?
Thomas is still flying straight
Yeah, okay, well, that's good.
and level. Now, he went close to the wind here because he opens up. Now, the headlines relative to this matter for the Timor Independent was Council defers Hoskin Street House, and Council has deferred its decision,
Yeah.
and we're awaiting further information from the proponent
Yeah, right.
and council officers.
Well,
Now, the opening paragraph or the opening sentence in Mr. Gosling's
article.
article is, the possible future conversion of the historic Westpac Bank into a nightclub was raised at last week's council meeting as an example of why a 3-bedroom house should not be built next door.
I can think of a couple of reasons, and it wouldn't have anything to do with a 3-bedroom house. I'd just be thinking, Timor can barely sustain the fucking pubs it's got. How are they going to go with a nightclub?
No, the point was this.
I know what the point
And
was, but that
Mr.
would be my
Gosling's-
point.
Yeah, but Mr. Gosling's taken that as something to try and get readers' interest.
Yeah, of course. You got
Now-
to clickbait. You got to get some action happening.
The point is
eventually.
this.
I get that. And if you can do it with a bit of style, as unload like you make propaganda Pete, if you can get a bit of clickbait going on.
If we look at current bank situations in Timor, the ANZ Bank has left,
yeah,
and currently the old ANZ bank branch is now home to a giftware store.
yes,
The National Australia Bank has left, and it's currently home to Southwest Slopes Credit Union.
yep,
St George Bank has left, and it's currently home to Australian Unity. Or is it a piercing business? I think it's a piercing business.
one of the two, yeah, whatever it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, so there.
So all those enterprises so far are far less corrupt than any bank. So
Yes,
that's nice.
but they're still completely different uses.
Of course.
Now, then we've got currently the Commonwealth Bank on shortened hours.
Yeah.
So they're
like they do everywhere around the
Yep.
countryside at the moment.
and the Westpac Bank. I'm not sure what their situation is, but
Look, give them time. They'll be good.
when you look at the trend, you would say that the future of a bank being in that building long term is low.
Of course.
The potential of that is low. So, what would a building on the corner in Timora's CBD, what could it become in the future? Could it become a restaurant? Could it become a nightclub?
I could smell Rick's Disco.
Well, but it could become it would be a prominent building, and it could, like, it's got a ground floor level. You could have a bar upstairs. You could have a restaurant.
Oh, and those old banks are pretty beautiful. They got some pretty,
Yeah, so you
pretty
can
cool
have-
shit for sure.
So, but this is just an idea.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, to flesh that out a little bit further, we've got a DA that's currently approved to turn the old flour mill into a brewery / restaurant.
That's been there for quite some time though. In that state of flux, is it not? Like,
No, but I'm just saying, like, this is, no one would have assumed that a building such as the old flour mill would be converted to that use.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the same thing is, but the point I was making was this: if we allow a residence in the CBD and then a future use comes along that's in conflict with that residence, but would normally be happily accommodated in a CBD, then you're just creating
As a
conflict and trouble for yourself in the future.
and as we all know, I don't mind playing devil's advocate in the
Mm.
space, but there used to be a residential area. You may or may not be aware, down towards where the big balls went missing.
Yes.
Towards that end block there,
Mm.
there happens to be 2 houses.
Mm.
One's being rebuilt. That whole block used to be a residential block.
Yes.
And then some little company, some of you people may or may not have heard of, called Woolworths, decided they wanted that block to put a shop.
Yes.
Pretty big shop.
Yeah.
And a couple of residents that were there said, no, we don't want to sell our houses. Now, based on that theory, the couple of residents that are still there, both have actually rebuilt what was originally there, but I know both houses were pretty much 100 odd years old, give or take, have a lovely view of the Woolworths wall as their side wall. So these things happen. Arguably, you could say that being that there was a stable there, I don't know what the original if
There used to
stable
be,
there, was
apparently there used to be a residence of some description. I imagine it was the manager's residence.
quite possibly. So, I mean, on that basis, how far do we go back? And we go, well, you know, it's been there before. It's been done before. What's the precedent? Where do you go? I mean, again,
Look,
I
no,
come back.
I'll
I
tell
come
you
back
where
and I
you
go.
go. I'll tell you where you go. You look at what the zoning says, and you look, number one, if it's allowed in that zoning.
Sure.
Okay. Now, standalone residences aren't allowed in that zoning.
But now, what's the zoning for that Woolworths block? And what is it now compared to what it was when Woolworths took that block over? And they pretty well took it over.
The residences would have been in place before the zoning came into effect.
Well, and that's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So if the zoning for that has at some stage had a house there before all that shit went up, well, then there's an argument to say, well, we want to put a house there.
Okay. But the problem being, of course, is can you lock that individual into, or the future owners of that residence, forever
to stop them being complaining, whinging bitches? God, no, because that doesn't stop no matter what you do.
No, and
it wouldn't matter one way or the other.
And it's not like we're short of residential land. It's not like we're short of high quality. Yeah, there's large lot residential, there's standard lot residential, there's all sorts of stuff.
But there would have been an argument, guaranteed, back when Woolworths went up, that all of those people should have been removed from that block so Woolworths could have it. Now, a couple of residents went, no, we don't want to move, we don't want to sell, we don't want to give it up. And part of the cost of them taking that position was they now have this lovely, great big fucking wall on the back of their own.
But the biggest...
they made that choice.
But also...
other residents chose to sell Woolworths their block or whatever and go elsewhere.
Those residents you're talking about really haven't suffered, to my mind, any detriment.
Well, it's a great big fucking wall out of
but
the
it's
house.
at the south side,
well,
so it doesn't shade them.
But to my detriment, if I wanted somebody to build a house next to a nightclub, that's not to anybody's detriment either. They've just made a choice to build a house next to a nightclub. Woolworths have made a choice to build their great big building next to these people's homes.
In the centre of a town, and they've bought.
I agree.
But these people, these people aren't suffering. There's no noise coming out of there.
Well, there's trucks that park out there at the side all the time, in front, up and down. The noise would have increased.
But they're on the same road that goes out to the grain receival site.
I can guarantee you that from the time that it was a residential block to now, traffic, I guarantee, is far busier. Noise would be far busier.
That's Temora all over.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
and
that's Hoskin Street.
But what I'm saying, though, is they chose to stay there. They don't really have any right to complain about the fact that they've got trucks now parking across their driveways, or they've got, I mean, they'll whinge and moan about it, but you chose to stay there. Tough shit.
Yeah. Look, the thing is, and this is the problem. On the one hand, we've got people, this DA for mine, they're trying to use a clause that isn't routinely used.
Yeah.
They're trying to really gild the lily.
Yeah.
What they were hoping to achieve through this, this is my opinion.
Yeah.
What they were hoping.
Oh, no, and all of these are my opinions as well.
What they were hoping to achieve, by the use of this tenuous link to this, business has been closed out by Essential Energy.
Yep.
Now they've had to come and be a bit creative as to how they resubmit this to hope for approval. Now I don't see how Temora in the future, if we're going to grow to the extent that it's projected by some officers of council, that CBD will be a booming hub of activity. I don't think we need to clog it up with conflicting uses.
Well, look, if Melbourne bursts out to 9 million people, as is projected, Temora's going to burst out to 100,000 in no time.
Well, look, even if we go from 6,000 in the Shire to 9,000 in the Shire.
Yeah.
Because Australia's projected to go from 25 or 26 million out to about 40 million,
Oh,
which is the addition of another 50%.
we're going to have importing voters for
Right.
as long as possible.
So if Temora Shire increases ballpark in the same quantity, what you're going to see in the CBD is houses being knocked down to make way for businesses.
Sure.
But even the existing, like the nightclub thing was just an example of what could be a future use. But even
Yeah.
when you consider that the Temora Hotel's only, as the crow flies, less than 100 metres away, and it has outdoor entertainment in the summertime.
Yeah.
And the Railway Hotel is less than about 150 metres as the crow flies, and they have outdoor entertainment in the summertime. And the Termo Hotel, as the crow flies, is about 150 metres to 200 metres, and they have outdoor entertainment. And we've got the ex-services club in close
And
proximity.
there's residential interspersed amongst all that shit.
Yes, but the people
So
who
who
are
cares?
there have coexisted.
Yeah.
The idea of building in the CBD, and I'm talking closer into an area. Now, there's minimal parking provided for in this development.
Yep.
And it only really caters for the occupants, and the occupants being, well, if this day and age you said for every adult occupant you allow one motor vehicle,
Yeah.
well, they've got the parking for two motor vehicles, so you'd expect that it's going to be occupied by two people. Now,
Where's Manu going to put his van?
well, but even to the point, just that's an indication
Of what they're aiming for.
of the scale
Yeah.
of the house.
Yep.
That's the Westpac Bank. That's the old stable. That's the house. So you can see,
Look, I can see all your points. I'm not saying
Yes.
that there's not some validity to the points and the fact that some people aren't dickheads who will buy cheap land and then
no,
bitch and moan and then grizzle.
no. I think
I just
it's just it's something that they've looked at and gone, yeah, it'd be really nice for us if we could do this. But then I just don't think it's going to be. Look, it was the same argument that I put forward when council approved a subdivision that allowed residential land and industrial land to butt up with no relief.
yeah.
And I find that those uses are in conflict. So why would a sensible council allow that to occur? Why would you want to make problems for yourself? And why would you want to put situations, or why would you want to put conflicting uses in close proximity?
Well, because again, back to where I would come from, is it's only a fucking business. Whoever bought the land and decides they want to do whatever to it can do whatever they want to do to it. And if you don't like living next to a welder's shed, don't buy a house there. Go and buy one somewhere else.
But this is
If the
whole-
welder's shed sets
Yes.
up afterwards, then you go in there and you go, oh, you dickhead, don't like it.
and that's fine.
Council
That's how it
shouldn't get a
used to
vote.
be. But then councils got involved, and then they had zoning, and then they had
Oh, I get it.
land and environment courts, and then they had lawyers,
I'm
and then everyone ends up at lawyers at 20 paces, and it becomes a shit fight.
It's a shit fight anyway.
But it's far more sensible to actually put, like put the houses away from the tip
It is, unless somebody wants to buy a house next to the tip
because it's cheap.
because it's cheap.
Well, then you can't.
You can't complain that the tip smells. No, that would be a condition of sale in the contract. Buy a house next to a tip.
Well,
Tough shit.
that's right. And so
Price.
the only way,
Like when I sell
the only
when I
way
sell-
I would allow,
when I sell a used car that's got a ding in it, and I say, no, I'm not getting that fixed. The car's cheap enough. There's no profit margin in it if I get it fixed for you. If you want to buy that car, it will say, you are buying this automobile. It has a ding on the
Yes.
left door.
yeah,
The new owner is accepting
you
responsibility
acknowledge, yeah.
for this being a
Yeah.
portion of the automobile. Don't come back in 3 weeks' time and go, hang on, I'm displeased
Well,
with this vehicle because there's a ding in it. It's a
I want
used
one of
car,
those
baby.
contracts to go into the future ever after for this development.
All right, I'll draft it up. Not a problem. Take me 10 minutes. I'll use my buddy AI. AI and I are friends now. We're like business partners.
Anyway, so that's where that's at. Thomas has grabbed that headline and run, and he didn't really catch the nuance of the rest of the conversation. The key point probably is to just wrap it all up. when you say,
Not tough shit, smells shit. Yeah, that's it, bud. It doesn't work like that. Look at the Wagga Speedway, top class venue closed down by a NIMBY, built house nearby years after speed. Mate, and that happened down at Maruya as well. Maruya, I think, had a speedway as well, and then a heap of dickheads went and bought a property, jumped up and down. And the only reason that it was closed down was because dickheads appeased other dickheads. You just go, no, sorry, you bought a house next to a speedway. When they're doing speedway shit, you get to live with it. The fact that councils appease these idiots is where the problems come in. Councils go, oh, well, hang on, we need to adjudicate here. Well, no, you don't. None of your business. Speedway Club wants to run speedway events at a speedway. Tough shit. I know that sounds very harsh.
This is the whole problem, though. That's so simplistic, and that's fantastic. Get lawyers involved and see how that stands up. It doesn't work.
Look, I'm happy to throw a few lawyers out. Well, most politicians are lawyers anyway. I'm happy to throw them out of the same helicopters. It's not going to bother me one iota. I mean, I like my lawyer. He's fucking gangster. But, you know, these things are just so overcomplicated, so drowned in bullshit. And people's going to have to learn to digest a bit, a few home truths. And it doesn't matter because we're going to be Venezuela in 5 years anyway. And none of this shit's going to matter.
Well,
at the rate we're going, we're not going to have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of as a country. And we're going to have, you know, what do they reckon? 40 million. We're going to double our population. We're all going to be bankrupt. Nobody's going to care.
If we're going to be overgoverned, at least we're going to make sensible fucking decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm part of this shit show,
yeah, look, I'm
not going to sit here and make stupid decisions.
Well, no, I appreciate that you don't.
Now, listen to this. The second paragraph, although council staff recommended the development application be approved, there was a lively discussion and councillors ended up voting unanimously to defer it for further consideration.
Goodness me.
Goodness
hang on,
me.
a unanimous decision in council.
Yes.
So you agreed with everybody else's motion?
No, it was my motion.
You did not put up a motion that was voted on unanimously. Not a chance.
It was.
No, I don't believe that for a second.
Absolutely.
You're kidding. That should have been the front page of the paper.
If you
council agrees with Irvine.
Let's talk about further silliness.
I'm goody. You know, I'm getting too old for this stuff.
Polaris Street.
Yeah, what's going on Polaris Street? We turned that into a thoroughfare for heavy vehicle bypasses yet?
Well, 50 metres of it, you can drive a road train on. No, there's more than that. Polaris Street, I'll give you a bit of a heads up on Polaris Street at the moment. There was an application came from a heavy vehicle operator that want to access McGuirk's tyres for servicing and maintenance. Now, currently, they want to run road trains. Now, let's have a look at this. And this is quite comical for mine. Now, the applicant was Altora Ag, and it's all in the open section. And here's the
Yeah, I know you.
Here's the paperwork.
You're very diligent about making sure that you only share with the people of Temora the stuff that's available for open share.
Well, we have to make sure that we're so. Here's currently Hoskins Street. Now, this isn't approved for use by road trains.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, apparently, currently the road train route, and this is pretty critical that we consider this because this is the stuff that hurts your head. Currently, if you're coming from the north, you have to come down Goldfields Way and you get to Kitchener Road. Then you've got to make a better than 90-degree turn. And you've got to go up Kitchener Road. You've got to go across the railway line at a boom-gated railway crossing.
Yep.
So that's reasonably safe because the lights will flash and the gates will drop so you won't crash into a train, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Then you've got to make better than a 90-degree turn, about 110, 120-degree turn back on yourself with a heavy vehicle, which is hard on the gear.
Hard going, yeah.
Come around the showground. Then you've got to come up to an unboom-gated railway crossing. Now, this is far more dangerous for a heavy vehicle.
Yep.
Then you've got and it doesn't really show up. This is slightly upgrade through this section here of Twynham Street.
Right.
Then you get on to Polaris Street. Then you've got to turn
good point.
Right, go up to Vesper Street, turn left, and then you continue on your merry way. Right,
Yep.
so
So just run through that little driveway again.
So
So
you
I
go
had the
down
comments
around-
up on the screen there.
all there. Now, Altura Ag's main base of operations is in this location here. They want to access McGuirk's tyres, which are down here in this blue square.
Yep.
Right. Now, instead of coming out of their yard and going straight down Polaris Street, they've asked for 50 metres access of Polaris Street so they can come back up to McGuirk's tyres off Hoskins Street. So they're already allowed on Polaris Street for this section here with road trains. So in order for them to access McGuirk's tyres, they're going to have to leave their yard, drive down Twynham Street, go across the unboom gated railway crossing.
Yep.
Come to a complete stop because there's a stop sign there.
Is that what they mean?
Back up through the gears, around the showgrounds, come to this better than a 90-degree turn, more like a 120-degree turn, back on themselves, over the railway line, down here to Hoskins Street. Then they come along Hoskins Street. Now, the road train route doesn't continue down here, but they're allowed to go down here and come 50 metres up Polaris Street to get into McGuirk's yard. Instead of just coming out of their yard here, one right turn and going down Polaris Street, one left turn into McGuirk's yard.
Well, that seems like a lot more practical.
My head hurts. Now, my head.
Oh, mind you, though, did Altura Ag not just sack all their mechanics? I did hear something about that. Now, I'm not right in the know on these matters, but I did hear something about they've just sacked a whole heap of blokes. Is that correct? Or made them redundant? Is that a different term?
Well, there's reference to that in the council notes to some extent. It doesn't sort of go to that. The correspondence from Altura Ag says Altura Ag is currently implementing changes to how we manage servicing our truck fleet,
Right.
including tyre servicing. To support this, we're exploring more efficient access routes to McGuirk's.
Yeah, right. So not that I know that that's a council thing. I mean, just as a local town thing, I did hear a whisper they let a heap of blokes go and sort of put them out to pasture.
Yes, well, that seems to support that. I don't know how that'll. I haven't got any detail on that. That's outside this, but
No, that's not you as a councillor. That's just I thought I know you're a bit more. You hear more often, and I guess more ear to the ground.
let's just listen about
Thank you.
the discussion about
about
this matter.
Morris Shire.
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second for the motion?
All right. So this is just the
Thank you.
conclusion of the previous motion.
Sinclair, and seconded.
So this is a discussion about this.
Moved, seconded, discussion. No discussion. I'm going to put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried unanimously. Thank you.
Now listen
Thank
to
you very
this.
much. Anything of an urgent, late nature? Thank you, Madam General Manager.
No, thank you, Mr. Ray.
Thank you. Let us now go to page 155, the Engineering and Services Department report. 13.1, access request, Polaris Street entry from Hoskins Street for HML PBS vehicles. The Executive Manager of
Road train.
Engineering Services.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. The report is as written. I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Mr. Executive Manager. Councillors, you have the report there in front of you. You also have a recommendation on page 157 for you to consider. Councillor's wish. The Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I think we need to agree to this proposal. It's trucks going through down all the time have been getting punches and so forth, and need the particular business need access to it. So I move the recommendation.
Thank you. So the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, has moved the recommendation. The motion has been seconded by Councillor Mahon. Moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? Just in further discussion, I'll just say that I support the motion that's before us, but it's just very, very frustrating when we have the road trains, etc., that come up and down Hoskins Street at will. They're not supposed to. This is, I know, a different class and a different situation, but it just seems that we're chipping away. We're chipping away at any advocacy and legitimate campaign that we have to want to remove them from our main street and urban area. But nonetheless, we have a motion before you, and that is that council support the proposal in principle to allow access to Ballara Street via Hoskins Street for the specified vehicle configuration subject to the required NHVR permit application being received. Further discussion, councillor Irvine.
The question to the engineering manager, the application, is that going to carry up to the depot of the request here? Or is it just purely for that 50-metre section? Please clarify that.
The executive manager.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. To our knowledge, or the intent has been just from Hoskins Street to the back gate of the works.
That's my understanding. Thank you. No further discussion. Councillor Irvine,
Just to
conclusion.
consider the applicant then. So they're going to be required to drive around via the showgrounds and go down Kitchener Road and come down Hoskins Street to go 50 metres up the works.
Thank you, councillor, the executive manager engineering.
Correct.
Thank you.
Well, I'll just comment. I think that sounds a bit silly. But if that's the request, that's the request. But realistically, I don't think it'll be adhered to.
Thank you. We deal with the requests that are before us. So it's been moved and seconded.
Now, that's certainly not a slight on the managers of the business, but sure.
No, of course not. And that's, look, it's very rarely, a slight on the manager of the business, but that's
But if
how
you've
much,
got
how much thought have you put into that,
if you've
Phyllis?
got a truck driver who comes out the gate and he's got a choice and he's got a deadline and a time to meet,
Yes.
regardless of what the boss says to him,
He's going to scoot up there and go, nobody's
he's
going to
do
see
one
me.
left
It'll be
turn.
fine.
He'll do one left turn and go down Ballara Street and turn into McGuirk. So that's 2 left turns for him to make, or he could do a left turn and he could go down Twynham Street. He could come to a complete stop, then go across the railway crossing, then go around the showground. Then he could do a 120-degree turn.
Duck through the drive-through at Macca's just
Then he
because
could go
fucking why not?
a right turn down and then come along Hoskins Street and then do another right turn and then another right turn.
Yeah.
By the time he gets there, he's going to need a set of tyres and probably some brake lines. So that's the sort of stupidity that I have to deal with on a monthly basis, because to me that makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
Why would council officers not go back to the applicant and say, look,
How about you just do this instead?
this makes it.
We can do this for you, but we're probably better off to do it that way.
Well,
Might
it's going
make
to
it
be better
work
on
a
our
bit better.
roads, and it's going to be safer.
Yeah.
Like, even when you look at this, is the risk implications according to the council officer who's done this report.
Yeah.
The risk implications to council are: the expansion of the heavy vehicle network presents several potential risks, including road infrastructure impact,
Yeah.
safety concerns, and community dissatisfaction. Refusal of the request may lead to the below risks: non-compliance by heavy vehicle operators and industry dissatisfaction. Now, let's just address the ones that the potential risks from the community. Road infrastructure impact. To my mind, there's less impact if they just come straight down Ballara Street and go straight in the gate. That's 2 turns.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a
Shorter stretch of road.
shorter stretch of road with less turns with heavy vehicles, which has got to be better on the road surface.
Well,
So less impacts on our infrastructure. Safety concerns. They don't have to navigate the unboom gated railway crossing.
and the twists and the turns and
Yes.
all that
And-
shit. Yeah.
And don't forget, we've got a cycleway that is actually on the edge of the road that goes around the showground area and up Airport Road.
Yep.
So we've got road trains interacting with cyclists on our cycleway.
I still a bit of cycling. You'd be surprised to know. And I'll
Well,
tell you
road
what,
trains and cycles don't mix.
I'm fairly confident that you're correct on that one.
So anyway,
They don't mix
safety
well.
concerns. I've got safety concerns with the proposed route.
Yeah.
So I think that idea of just coming all the way down Polaris Street probably enhances safety. However, that hasn't been considered. Now, community dissatisfaction. Let's think about all the people who are impacted if they go the long way
Mm.
and all the people who are impacted if they go the short way. Now, I would think that community satisfaction would be lower if less people are impacted.
Well, it would depend
Who those people might be.
who those people might be and whether they're of the whinging ilk or whether they're of the, it's probably one of the biggest employers in town. We do kind of need them these days.
Yes, but I'll tell you, there's one very interesting resident that happens to live on the corner of Polaris and Crowley Streets.
And do we have interesting residents?
Well, it happens to be the chair of the particular meeting that I attended.
You're right. Who would have thought?
Who'd have thunk it?
Who'd have thunk it?
So, and I'm not saying that this individual's got any undue impact here, but the mayor lives in this location, which would be affected if road trains came
Straight up the hill.
straight from the depot to the business.
Yeah.
And really, it's, if that's 100 metres on the scale here,
Anyway,
it's about a texter. There's the business, 100, 200, 300, 400. That's the business, 400 metres.
yes. Well, I think that's the part where the road trains usually go in, is it not?
Well, that's where they have to go, and they go right round via the Cape.
And I mean, if you're at your bloody dress shop, pants shop, you shouldn't be at home anyway worrying about this
Well,
sort of caper.
Anyway, I don't know. I don't think there's been any political interference there, but
Okay, well, that's good.
when you look at that particular street, there's a little section of it that road trains are allowed on, and there's another section's been added, but there's this little bit in the middle where they can't go.
Build a bridge. We could put a bridge, an overpass, if you will.
So anyway, that's probably a couple of key points to come out of last Thursday's meeting. And look, there's more. Every month there's more of this stuff, but there's only a little bit more absurdity that I'll subject you to. And I know this does your head in.
Oh, look, it's my favourite. You know this.
We've got our plan for the future.
Oh, goody.
It's on public exhibition. Everybody. So if you go on council's website, on exhibition is our plan for the future. Now, this is basically our integrated community strategic plan, delivery program, and operational plan. This is the book. This is what we're going to base all our decisions on, and it's based on solid community feedback and input.
So they've been watching the show and making notes. Is that what you're saying?
No. They've done there's been a bit of rigor going into this, but there's also some creativity.
Oh, good
Yeah.
creativity or
Bit
not?
of creative writing.
Yeah.
Goes a long way in a council report.
Like that's a big report.
It is, but it's not. But page 9 caught my
Oh, there's
eye.
lots of photos. Oh, that's good.
Page 9 caught my eye.
What do we got on page 9?
Well, this is, look, I'd love to be able to show you the details of that graph, but that graph shows how all the planning works. And if you're not confused before you look at that, you will be afterwards.
State plans and strategies.
Yeah. Look,
Re-rock.
yeah.
Relevant regional plans and
If you didn't think
priorities.
we were overgoverned before you looked at that, you will understand afterwards.
Fuck.
Don't look at it. Look, it'll hurt your head.
Most of this shit hurts my head.
Now, on page
Oh, more
9,
photos. I
on
love
page
photos.
9, community vision. Our vision is for Temora Shire to be recognised as one of the friendliest and most progressive rural communities.
Good. And lots of net zero, lots of transgender bullshit nonsense.
Our vision is for Temora to be recognised. So is that the assertion therefore must be because we're seeking recognition here.
Who are we seeking it from?
We are the friendliest and most progressive rural community.
Who do we want to be recognised by? And the word progressive makes me want to puke.
But our vision is for Temora Shire. Our vision is for Temora Shire to be recognised.
And they were inspired by our rural and Wiradjuri heritage.
But even no, this is an assertion. Do you understand? Like,
So I understand. I'm trying not to vomit.
our vision is for Temora Shire to be recognised as one of the friendliest and most progressive rural communities. So the vision is to be recognised as. So the statement is that we are one of the friendliest and most progressive rural communities, and we need to be recognised for it. Our vision is for that.
Doesn't that make you feel better?
Well,
My vision is for all of Australia and Temora people to have the lowest, cheapest, most efficient power in the country or in the world. My apologies. I want us to have reasonably safe communities where everybody has lots of money in their pocket because they've earned it. And people can do whatever the hell they want as long as they're not infringing upon other people's rights to do whatever the fuck they want.
I'd like Temora Shire just to do what it says on the label and
mow lawns,
stick to their knitting and do it really well.
yeah,
Keep it simple, stupid, and just do what we do
fix them potholes.
We don't have to be like,
This is bullshit.
but we're not the most progressive.
God, I hope not.
And I'm telling you,
The fact that we've got a mayor who desperately wants to be a conservative, banging on about being progressive,
a communist conservative,
is exactly why the Liberal Party's dead in the fucking water, and the Nats are following them over a cliff.
And the comment that it's as one of the friendliest.
Why am I defending fucking conservatives? Because they're hopeless.
Now, everyone's friendly to sensible people and just people that they want to be around and positive, happy people.
Oh, sometimes.
But I'm telling you, I've been subjected in recent times,
no,
due to my involvement with Temora Shire Council, to very unsavoury behaviour and I'm the most unfriendly type. So
I find that hard
there
to
is
believe.
absolutely no way that I can support a statement of that nature because Temora Shire needs to be recognised for what it is.
But, well, you should put that on the label. Maybe we'll do our own version.
Our vision is for Temora Shire to be recognised for what it is.
How funny.
Anyway, so that's the first really conflicting statement that I've come across. And then they've tried to tick a few more boxes in the cultural field or
cultural field.
Inspired by our rural and Wiradjuri heritage, we grow together through opportunity, innovation, and respect for people and place. Okay.
Have you guys got rainbow flags up in the Shire Council there everywhere yet, or what?
No.
Give it time.
No.
How many, like, is there an, what is it, Aboriginal Torres Strait Island? Have you got the 3-4 flags in the building yet?
No.
Or are you a 5-flag council now? You've got the Australian flag kind of over in the corner that nobody's allowed to look at, the Aboriginal flag, the Torres Strait Islander flag, the rainbow flag, and then that trans flag, because they've got a new one for themselves now.
Don't know.
Which, again, I don't mind if you go or trans, but you don't need a fucking flag for it.
Look.
And I don't, fuck. Why?
There's all these strategies within this plan. Provide attractive and on page 20, we've got a heading here. Provide attractive and welcoming towns and villages with well-maintained public facilities, open spaces and streetscapes. Now, they talk about principal activities, what we'll continue to do, and then strategic initiatives. Now, this is where the brown paper bag comes in handy.
Why did you do this to me? If you don't like me, just say so. Like,
public facilities, priority projects. Listen to this. Now, this will develop and implement a marketing campaign to promote Temora Memorial Town Hall as a premium event destination.
How much is that going to cost me?
Well, let's start by making the accessibility
legal.
Yes, compliant.
Well, I don't care if it's compliant. I just want it to be accessible.
By making it compliant to Australian standards of accessibility. Number one. Now, provide storage, lighting and soundproofing under the stage at Temora Memorial Town Hall. Okay. Well, as we've spoken about before, Temora Town Hall and the redevelopment was the catalyst for my dispute with council.
I recall.
Hmm.
I
And
recall.
as far as
We
I'm
have
concerned-
mentioned it on occasion.
As far as I'm concerned, it's not fit for purpose.
Fair
It's
call.
an absolute train wreck. As far as I'm concerned, they've wasted the opportunity to actually do something meaningful in that space and actually have a facility worthy of some sort of an aspiration of that type. But at the moment, they've got an absolute lemon.
Oh, I love lemons.
It is a lemon meringue pie.
Oh, I like lemon meringue pies too. I prefer caramel tart a bit more than I like lemon meringue pie, but hey, that's just me, baby.
So let's just run through the list of the litany of failings at this venue and tell me how we may achieve this lofty aspiration.
Oh,
Because the lofty aspiration is to develop and implement a marketing campaign to promote Temora Memorial Town Hall as a premium event destination. I'll give you an example of a recent interaction I had with a high-level performer who was coming to use the town hall.
do tell.
I got a phone call from a fellow called Matt Arthur. Now, Matt Arthur is the principal performer and organizer of leads the charge for a band called Matt Arthur and the Lazy Bones.
Oh.
Now they're really high caliber and high quality musicians, and they put on a great show. Now, I got a phone call from Matt Arthur after Matt Arthur had contacted Temora Shire Council about booking the venue to have a show. Now, the council then directed Matt Arthur to the person who operates the in-house audio system on behalf of council. Now, Matt contacted.
I'm listening. I'm listening.
Matt contacted me and he
Navigating
said, "Look,
comments and mentions and things.
we're going to come down to Temora
Moderating's the word.
and we're going to do a show. We'd like to do it at the Temora Town Hall." I said, "Tell me more." He said, "I've spoken to a fellow that operates the audio system on behalf of Temora Shire Council, and he's told me what facilities they've got, and I'm not convinced that that is the equipment or the standard that we require." Now, he said, council have given me your name.
Oh, well, that's good.
This is what we'd like to do. What have you got? And I told him the equipment I have, the approach I take, and what I could give them in terms of a production for their upcoming show.
Yeah.
We seem to be compatible in what I had available and what their expectations were. And so subsequently, Matt booked me to provide the production for the show.
Excellent. How was the show? Did it go well?
It went fantastic. It was
That's excellent.
a really good show. They were terrific people to work with. They were absolute professionals, and anyone who attended it. I had people come up to me at the end of the show and said, "I cannot believe that sounded that good in the Temora Town Hall."
Tell you what.
So that's a feather.
How good's that? So that's going towards their little plan there.
Yes, but Matt Arthur did confide in me after the show when he booked me to do a further show for him in Cootamundra later in the year.
Yeah.
And also said that they hope to come back to Temora in the future. He said, believe it or not, he said it was very difficult getting your name as a contact out of council. He said, I asked them on a number of occasions if they got someone else because I'm not 100% satisfied that the council system
original,
and the audio operator's probably up to what we need. And reluctantly, this was his words, reluctantly council gave me your name and provided also further information along the lines of, but he's also very difficult to work with.
Oh, yes. I find you difficult to work. Yeah, sometimes you want me to read shit like this. And
anyway, so I'm difficult to work with yet. We had a great time. The show was a smash hit.
And you've been rebooked.
And I've been rebooked to do more work for these people who are a high level operation. Now, let's just go back to this aspiration. Develop and implement a marketing campaign to promote Temora Memorial Town Hall as a premium event destination. Well, number one, let's put some decent facility in there for high-level performers. Let's get some capable operators of said equipment and put a bit of a show on. You know, I've got 3 events booked later in the year at Temora Memorial Town Hall using my equipment because the equipment in the town hall isn't of a level that will support those standard of productions.
Yeah, right.
What they've inserted or what they've implemented at the town hall is something that will do basic speech and very low level program music.
Yeah, yeah.
It won't support a live band to any reasonable sound level.
Yep.
And it certainly won't support any sort of production that requires a higher sound levels. There's no real level for a contractor to bring in other equipment. They haven't catered for incoming contractors. They haven't catered even with the sensible implementation of proper loading facilities.
Yeah.
So we've got inadequate disabled access. We've got inadequate audio facilities. We've got inadequate production facilities, and we don't even cater for other organisations or other operations to come in and actually load gear in and out.
Yep.
So, look.
So they're well on the way.
Well, look, these strategic plans are glossy and they make everyone feel good. And I'm sure someone made a lot of money out of putting this together.
How much? Yeah,
It would have cost us squillions.
of course it did.
But it's just another piece. Like, if I put all those facts on the table at a council meeting, I'll be determined to be negative, unhelpful, uncooperative. What else would it be? Disagreeable, difficult to work with. Heaven help us that it's the truth.
Oh, I
Like,
fucking dig it, mate. I dig
like
it.
for bugger me, mate.
I know.
Let's just be a bit fair dinkum and just be who we are and acknowledge our faults.
You got faults.
I've got plenty of them, and I
Yeah,
try and
fuck.
work with them every day, and I try and be better human.
Look, I'll try and help you out with a few of them, you know.
Yeah.
Like, what
So
country
look-
does the rainbow flag represent?
Yeah, well, rain bonus.
He doesn't
there.
need to there. Mate, Tim, I've never had any concerns about winning any popularity contests. I can fucking tell you. And the crowd here, we've talked about lemon meringue pie and pecan pie's getting a Guernsey, and should sell the town hall. Someone could use it as a residence. Couple of
that's what we probably could do.
A couple of others we've got. I'm just running through them before we wrap her up. Sorry, with a few. I'll try to make sure all of our commenters get their bit in. Heath Orchard would like to know we haven't even got a proper clothes shop here. It'd be nice to get a best and less. That'd be progressive. What do you mean we haven't got a proper clothes shop? The finest of menswear apparel. I'm not sure where we missed. Irv, what are you suggesting there? There's a possibility I missed that lead in, or possibly, we dragged behind there. Some streets in Temora are becoming very rough in town. Irv, from heavy vehicles. Polaris Street's one of these. At what point do we rip it up and redo them in a more suitable product like a hot mix? I'm certainly no expert in tar requirements.
No, there's I raised the issue with Victoria Street because it's showing the signs at the moment. And the answer that I got from the engineering department was that Transport for New South Wales, because that's a state road, Transport for New South Wales are actually currently looking at Victoria Street for the similar treatment that Hoskin Street got.
Oh.
Which would be a significant project.
Yeah.
And a significant upgrade to the current surface in Victoria Street, because there are areas in Victoria Street now that are really starting to let go. And obviously, Victoria Street and Hoskin Street cop the
lion's share of traffic through
of
town.
heavy
for sure.
vehicle traffic.
Yeah.
So they're the ones that probably need the upgrade the most. Polaris Street is as rough as guts, there is no doubt. Loftus Street's the same. The seal on both of those is intact though. And look, at 50k an hour, you just got to slow down and ride the bumps, because it costs a hell of a lot of money to do. Like, I think they spent $5 million in Hoskin Street. Transport for New South Wales spent on that project. Now, there's absolutely no way known that the ratepayers and residents of Temora Shire Council can support that type of expenditure on the roads that we own and maintain. Now, that then really does mean that unless we're going to send all the heavy vehicles straight up Hoskin Street, which is
Why
what
not?
it's built for now,
Yeah.
like, and give up this rainbow dream of a
Oh,
heavy vehicle
fuck.
bypass.
I can't believe that a mayor who's allegedly as conservative as ours is throwing around words like progressive, hanging out with the Labor Party, all this
Well, when he,
gibbering
but,
fucking bullshit.
but
not,
when you
not,
actually,
not a principle in the world,
but
is
when
there?
you look at the way he operates, though, it's more committees, more
Not
advisory
a
councils,
principle in the building.
more government, more. Well, we've got someone who's looking at people's houses now, looking at the
Peep-
empty
peep-
houses.
Peeping in their windows, it would
Peeping,
appear. I have questions, ladies and gentlemen, but we're nearly coming up on 2 hours.
No.
And I've got a child to get home to. And
I'm sorry, I've we've you with all the council stuff, but we're
we had to do a bit of a catch up for
and
sure.
look, we haven't had access to the
The big screen,
the screen, the audio.
I know that's all. I'm certainly not. I'm not offended.
We needed to catch up on
My
Coolum stuff. I thought that was appropriate.
my kid has said though that now he has to have a ride on your electric bike for all this extra time you've used up. You know, like
Yeah,
he sent
that's
through a
okay.
request. You know,
Well-
ladies and gentlemen, if you like the show, give it a little like, give it a little share.
Hmm.
Tell your friends. That's the cost. We don't ask for sponsorships. We don't ask for
the
any
other
money.
councillors, if there's something that annoys you or something you want further clarity on, ask me or ask the other councillors. Get a bit active and get a bit vocal. Whilst ever people remain silent,
You
will be
bullshit
governed the way
by inferior idiots.
you
And
get what you deserve.
we've got Albo as our Prime Minister, which tells us everything we need. And most people in this area have banged on to me for years. Albo shit, Labor shit. Now you've got tons of it. And you've got a Liberal Party doing its very best to mimic Albo. So you lot should be shitting bricks, and possibly, even as much as I'm not statesman-like and well-behaved enough, you may want to start thinking I could be right on quite a few topics here, because it's coming at you like a freight train. Ladies and gentlemen, like, share, tune in next Thursday night. We'll keep you up to date with No Spin.
We will be addressing the spin. We'll be treating the spin, and we will be
As the only credible doctors left in the joint, we'll sort it out. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great night. We'll talk next week.
catches.